Well, I like to get started laying all the way back. Since I'm leaving the door open, just know at some point I'm going to sneak out to lock it, but I want to give Allie just a couple more minutes to speak. If you're laying back, just start off with a couple of good relaxing breaths. Just let your breath flow in, let it flow out, comfortable and easy. The breath is the life force. If you look at the biology of how we can do exercises, at least aerobic exercises, it's by having breath, by letting this flow of oxygen help us out. That recharges the muscles and it lets the muscles go a little bit longer so that we can get to that point of light fatigue. And that fatigue is where we start to get a little bit stronger. And so know that breath is super key. That's one of the most important things for Yogilates. And so start off right here, inhaling in the nose, nice and deep, inflate your body. And exhale in Yogilates, I like to do out the mouth. Just take a couple more relaxing breaths. Kind of getting this pattern set up in the body. And as you're taking a few more relaxing breaths like that, I always like to start off with an intention for classes so that way our mind can be part of the process. So the intention today is helping us transition from winter to spring. In Yogilates, it's a lot about that warmth, just like we're starting to get warmer and warmer days. And that warmth is starting to lead to more growth, more life. Just that beautiful movement of animals and things all around us. So imagine this warmth that we're adding to the body. It's helping us transition out of the cold phase of winter where we just wanted to be bundled up with a blanket and into that warmth of the summer where we want to go hiking and swimming and have a lot more movement in our system. For this class, imagine we're just helping that transition. So one more good inhale in the nose. Easy exhale mouth. And from here, let's start to take the knees into the chest. Just an easy rocking so that we can tune in with our sacrum for a moment. So this can be circles, this can be left and right rocking. It's whatever feels really good for that very low back. And this helps to remind us as well, we're keeping the low back, that part that likes to arch, we're keeping that glued into the ground whenever we do these core movements. So if you start to feel that low back arch a little bit, that's a sign I need to make my legs not go quite so low. So first things first, I'd like to have us do a movement that helps us feel that edge where the low back might want to arch. So what I'd like us to do is straighten both legs up to sky and bring the hands on the floor right beside you. Sometimes here I'll even tuck my thumbs right under the hips. And then what we're gonna do is slowly start to lower the legs down and you're listening to that low back. There's a point where it wants to kind of release and arch. So that's the spot that you stop at. Maybe it's halfway down, maybe a teeny bit higher or lower from that spot. And then return the legs right back up above the chest. So we'll do that as a pattern. The legs will lower. That's our inhale. Exhale, you'll bring the legs right back up above the chest. Let's do a couple more. If you ever need to take breaks, if I'm doing too many repetitions, take breaks, by the way, and come back into it. Inhale. Exhale. Take another 7 if your body's doing good. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. And 1. Good. Now let the right knee bend. We're clasping hands around that right knee. This left leg is straightening its way up to the sky as much as it can. You should be feeling hamstrings and maybe even calf a little bit. That straight leg lowers to hover right above ground. And then bring that bent left knee back in, hand switch to left. Right leg up to sky. Straight leg hovers above ground. And bring it back in, hand switch. to sky, lower down, and switch. We'll start off a couple more rounds like this, just nice and slow. It's like we're starting to ride a bicycle again, which is what this is called, bicycles. And it's like if you haven't ridden a bicycle in a while, your body still knows what to do, but your muscles are kind of learning how to, you know, do that repetitive movement over again. And so here, as we're warming up our system, if you'd like to speed up the cycle a little bit, this is a point where you're welcome. I like to start synchronizing the breath. Exhale when a leg lowers down. You can always stick with that nice slow speed. Nothing wrong with that. This is just listening to our body and joining it where it's at. Our core, every person's a little different based on our experiences, based on how we've lived life up to this point. So my countdown will be perhaps a different pace for everybody, but I'll just do a countdown at my pace, and that's okay if you're faster or slower. But we're gonna go count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Drop the bent left leg to floor, foot kind of close to glute. Right leg up to sky. Help to stretch it out just a little bit more. Grab wherever you can reach, behind thigh, behind calf. Help to pull it in until you feel that nice stretch. And notice if the foot's a little bit more pointed, it's going to be more of a stretch through hamstring, versus if you're trying to flex the foot back, it's going to be a little bit more in the calf. So just pay attention to what area is needed the most. Maybe even add in a bonus cycle or two of rolling the foot. Good. Now take this right ankle to the left thigh. We're going to do figure 4 stretch. So right ankle to left thigh, and then arms thread around the left thigh or shin. You'll notice that starting to wake up the glute and the hip. Good. So this is what I like about Yogilates. We do a couple of exercises and then we get to take some stretches. And so it's a nice balance between that strengthening and the stretching. So now let's release. We're dropping right foot to floor. Left leg gets its turn to stretch up to sky. Pay attention to the amount of flexion you have in the foot. And then ankle to thigh, that same figure 4 stretch. Sometimes one hip is way more willing to stretch than the other. So it's little things like that that we tune into while we're doing the stretches, so that when we're in motion, when we're maybe less aware of our body, we can still do things that keep the body in balance. That deep full inhale, one more good cycle here. Nice exhale. Good. So as we release the ankle, both feet are dropping to floor, planting close to glutes. Hands come behind the back of the head. We're going to do some crunch variations. So this first one is a circular variation of a crunch. We circle through the right, around, and down. And then right away we switch sides. Circle to the left, around, and down. I like to do the inhale when I'm down at the bottom. Exhale through the entire circle. Let's do another 5 to each direction. Here's 5, and 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, and 1, and 1. Good. Rest the head back down. Hands go on the floor by the hips. We're doing a couple of bridge poses. So with bridge pose, we scoop the tailbone under, lifting up the hips, and then roll up the hips as high as they can. Roll back down 1 vertebrae at a time. So I like to do inhale as I'm rising up. Exhale through the whole roll down. Try to think of pressing 1 vertebrae at a time into the ground, and then lifting 1 vertebrae at a time. The next time you go up, pay attention to your knees. The knees naturally splay open just because that helps you go a little bit higher. And so instead of letting that happen, try to keep the knees as squeezed in as when they're starting. But that starting position, when they're in a good alignment, that's where we try to keep them staying by squeezing in just a little bit. Good. If you're doing okay, let's take another side. And 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. So now with this next one, the hands, they're at your sides, floating above the floor. Maybe give them 3 inches or so above the ground. And they're trying to stay hovering like a magnet, the same height above the ground the whole time. So we slide the hands forward. That makes the shoulders lift and crunch, and then slide back. Hands stay at that same height. Exhale and inhale. If you want to add difficulty to this, the legs can hover. Bent knee is slightly easier. Straight legs is slightly. Just make sure that low back is not at a place where it's going to lift. If neck is tired, take breaks for a couple of reps and then come back in. I'll go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Feet down for a moment. Clasp hands behind head. Just lift the chin into the chest. We're supporting the neck and a little stretch behind. You can get in stillness, just lifting through the center, or there can be a slight rocking left, right? Whatever feels better for your neck. Good. Lowering the head back to floor. Slide the arms to a wide figure T on the ground. Bring the knees right back up where they were if you lifted to that nice 90-degree angle. So knees right over hips, toes sticking straight out. With this one, we're working on obliques. So the legs tilt partway to one side. That's inhale. The exhale is what brings us back. Inhale, tilt. Exhale, bring it back. So it's less about just swinging with momentum. It's more about that control, that very contraction of the exhale, bringing this up. If you'd like to add difficulty, when you tilt to the side, add an extension and bending of the legs. So that'll make the inhale extend until the toes are pointing out, and then exhale when you start to curl the knees back in and go through center. We'll take another 3 each side. Two. And 1. Good. Let the bent knees fall over to the left when you finish your last one. Just easy twist to the left. Try to keep the right shoulder glued to the ground. That's what helps to give an anchor point for the muscles to stretch. And notice where you can breathe. It's easy to breathe through belly, but notice if you can also breathe a little bit into the right lung. Helping those ribs expand just a little bit. So before we take the twist to the other side, we're going to take a quadricep stretch first. Continue to roll over to the left until you can bring your right hand to grab your right foot behind your back. And then you're pointing the knee to the mirror for the base of the mat until you feel that quad stretch. Make sure the head is comfortable. If you can rest it on your arm or your hand, that's fine. Good. One more breath here. Good inhale. Exhale. Release. Take the knees up to that bent shape through the center and then let them fall to the right. Good inhale here, exhale, and then roll to the side as much as you need to grab the left toes, and then pull that knee backwards a bit. One more good breath in and out. Good. Return onto your back. Feet planted like they were for that bridge pose again. So the next couple of exercises have the potential to be pretty difficult, but don't worry, I'll give you a couple of variations in case you need just an additional option. If it's a little bit too much, I'll give you some options. So this first one here, the knees are glued together from this shape, and just the right leg extends out. So knees glued and then right leg out. The arms reach up overhead. With the, this is the inhale when we stretch back like this. With the exhale, we sweep the arms through the sides like we're flapping wings. We lift our back up as much as we can. If you can't lift the back off, it'll just be like a little crunch. So we're gonna go for another 10. So when you're ready, exhale, 10, lift as much as you can. And yep, grabbing legs is another good option. Grip sometimes is all you need to get a little bit higher. Here's 8, 7, and 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Happy baby. Before we switch, right hand tries to grab outside edge of right foot. If that's too far to reach, grab ankle, and then just help to pull that right knee open. Good. Release, right foot to floor, knees glued together, left leg out. The practice one, inhale, exhale, how far you can rise, and then back to, here's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, Good, half happy baby. Trying to grab outside edge of left foot or left ankle, pull that knee open. Sometimes I'll rock a little bit for that half happy baby. Sometimes just stillness is about what I can do. Okay, let both legs extend up to sky. And then they open out nice and wide. Arms reach up overhead, inhale. Exhale, crunch, reaching through the legs, 10. And inhale. Exhale, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Rest hands on the inner thighs, letting them stretch open. If it gets fatiguing at all, you can bend the knees. That's an option. Okay. So this one's another challenge one. Bring the legs back together. If the challenge that I give you is a little bit too much, go back to the very first one we did with the thumbs tucked a little bit under the hips. You just lower down a little bit and then raise back up. That'll work very similar muscle groups. So if your body's able to do it, this one's called a jackknife. You swing the legs in, the hips lift up a little bit, and then you try to pike the toes up to the sky just a bit. And then just kind of roll back down the opposite. So we'll go for 10, 9, obviously exhale through that hard part, 8 to lift, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Drop the feet to floor, sliding them long. This one, we're gonna do 5. The idea is to do a full roll up. If the roll up isn't happening, either bend your knees and grab onto thighs, or just do crunch repetitions, just trying to lift the shoulders off the ground and relax them back down. The full thing would be a roll up. So we're trying to come all the way up to stretch over the toes. And then once we're back down, you have the option to add in a little bonus. Lift up the toes, pike the toes all the way to the ground above the head. That's the full thing. You don't have to do the full thing. You, again, can just do the crunches, or you can just do the first half, coming up and down with the upper body. So 5, if you're doing the full thing. If you're doing one of the others, just do whatever you can do. Take breaks, do whatever repetitions you have in. So inhale, exhale to rise, 5, stretch, roll down, plant the hands, lift the hips, and touch the floor. Good. Okay, resetting. 4. Don't ever feel bad if you're taking easier options. Good. We're building the core up wherever we're at. 3. 2. 1. Good, and however you're getting up to a seated place, let's rise. So maybe a bonus one. Just let your legs go long in front of you. Just relax that spine over. If the knees need to be a little bit bent to be easier on hips and back, that's fine. Just relax. That was a couple of intense things, pretty much back to back. Good work. there's still any neck tension from some of those crunch things, just roll the head left and right. Okay, so as spine lifts back up, we're gonna try out boat pose, rowing the boat. So the full thing would look like this. You start off in boat pose, the toes go out, and then you row the boat to one side, toes out, row the boat to the other side. That would be the full thing. If that's a little bit too much, drop the hands down in front of you. Either just hold boat or try to do a little bit of the toes in and out. Okay, so going for 10, 10, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, and going slower is also fine. 6, 6, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. You're doing awesome. This is hard. 1, and cobbler's pose. Let's take bottoms of feet together. Let the knees open. Try to start off with the spine tall. Sometimes I'll even take fingertips behind to help support that. And if you want to tilt forward, try to keep it tall as you start to tilt. And then at the last moment when you can't go further, then you can relax. Lift up enough that the right leg can straighten out to a nice right angle. And then just slide back forward and through. Spine lifts up. Plant the right hand in front of the right leg. The left shoulder pulls back just a little bit so that when you stretch this left arm up and over, you're trying to get that arm in the same line as that bottom leg. Good. Rising up, the legs switch out. Left leg going to the wide angle. Hands on the floor, slide forward. As we're stretching here, take a moment to just feel the body in this slightly warmer state. It's just nice. That's one of the things that I like about Yogilates is the heat that you're feeling is created from yourself. It's not like that miserable heat of the sun. It's like, oh no, I did this. This is awesome. Okay, walking back in. Left hand in front of left leg. Pull the right shoulder back to stretch over. Beautiful. Sitting up tall. Both legs open out, and we want the hips to be helping us sit tall. So if we're feeling pulled back, the knees are bent. If the legs are straight, then we're able to sit up tall on our own. The arms are floating to left and right. That's our starting position. We twist toward our right leg, and the left pinky finger tries to saw off the left pinky toe, and then rise back up. So it's exhale to twist, inhale to rise. It's okay if you can't reach. Kind of find the point on your shin or ankle that you can reach, and imagine that you're sawing that off. 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, and 1, Good job. Either bring the hands to plant behind so you can sit up tall, or slide forward and through for a stretch. Okay, so rising back up. Just a couple more things in the seated position. Let's take another boat pose. Again, hands behind is a good option. This time, if you're moving with your arms, the arms go up like a rainbow with it. Inhale, we're tall up through the top. Exhale, we tap down to one side. Inhale, exhale. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's take a bonus little hip stretch here. The left leg's just relaxing down. We're going to cradle out the right leg. So the right leg, we're holding onto knee and foot, or sometimes we can slide so the elbows are what's holding, but whatever you can hold on to, rock the baby cradle out. Feel how that opens up the hip just a little bit. Good. Now lift the left knee up so that you can drop this right ankle onto the thigh. Good. And then you're finding whatever angle helps you to open this right hip a little bit more. So some of us will be leaning back. Some of us may be pressing the right hand into that right knee. And occasionally there's people that can kind of hug around the whole thing, but don't feel like you're forcing anything that's not wanting to quite happen for your body. So you're finding whatever's useful to help that hip relax. If hands are not behind you, go ahead and drop them there. And then 3 times we're tilting this unit all the way to the right, all the way to the left. 2. And 1. Good. Relax the right leg on the floor. Let's cradle the left out. Rocking it like a little baby. When it feels like you've relaxed that hip a bit, take that left ankle to right thigh. And then again, find your option. Maybe you're leaning back, maybe you're pressing, maybe you're scooting the other foot in a bit closer. Just find whatever feels useful. Let's give it one more good breath in and out. Good. Okay. We're going to swing the legs underneath us. Okay, we're dropping down to elbows. So this one is going to be a dolphin pose. So what we do with dolphin pose, the head does not touch the ground, but I like to have the hands be a nice solid unit. So one hand is a fist, the other hand hugs around the fist. And then from here, we're tucking the toes and lifting the hips up. I like to walk the toes in as much as you have the flexibility for. And oftentimes this shape is enough, just holding it to work our core. So you're welcome to just breathe. If you want to make it a little bit harder, you'll rock the head forward and back. Just work with your breath. When you feel like it's a little bit too tiring, your shoulders are about what they can do, you'll drop down to a child pose. If you're down already, if you're doing still movement, we'll take another 3, 2, 1. Good. And then everybody go ahead and relax. Drop to knees. Let the forehead relax. Just breathing for a moment. Good. So rising back up, we're gonna take it to an elbow plank, and know that if you need to be on knees, that's okay. From our elbow plank, we're gonna try to lift one elbow up to sky, and then down, and then the other. So if you're sticking with me, 10, 9, 8, 7, take breaks, come back in if you can, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, good job, 1. Good work. So dropping the knees down, let the hips be over the knees. We're taking puppy pose. So walk the hands forward. Many of us are on forehead. Some people can flip to the chin, but only if that's comfortable. But either way, think of the heart continuing to relax down. Trying to invite that space open. Okay, start to sink yourself backwards into child's pose. That's a nice little counter stretch for the spine. Beautiful. So we're almost through with the hard stuff, and then we'll wrap up with some nice stretches for class. This next one, it's kind of like a push-up motion, but instead of letting the elbows go wide, we're trying to keep the elbows squeezed into the waist. And it's just as much of a push-up as you have. So if that's 1 inch, that's 1 inch, and that's okay. You can also be on knees if you need to make it easier. So your choice. Have the hands right about that shoulder distance, and just breathe with me. We're going for 10. So the best that you can do, even a slight bend. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then try to slow motion, lower your belly down to the ground. Good work. Hands go by the hips, or if you can clasp your hands behind your back, take that clasp. So don't feel like you're forcing it either way. We're gonna try to pull the shoulders up and the legs lift with our inhales. Exhales back down. Let's do another 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Release the hands for a moment. We're stacking palms, resting forehead down, and just let the hips shimmy out left and right. Good. So this one is a static hold. So we're holding with that back lift. You can take the same option you did a moment ago, the hands floating, the hands clasping, or you have an additional option trying to grab onto both feet at the same time. Don't feel like you're forcing it if it doesn't want to happen. So this time when we lift, we're trying to stay lifted. So inhale to start. Try to keep the inflation of the belly a little bit. Going for another 5. Try to keep the knees slightly squeezed in. 4, 3, 1. Good. Relax. Slide the elbows right under the shoulders, Sphinx pose. Good. Let the heart get pulled forward and through. That should help to lengthen the abdominal area, bringing some nice length to that core that we work so much. Okay, so while we're here, right knee slides through the side on the floor. That helps to open the hip and the low back just a little bit. Just slide that side back. Left knee slides through the side. Slide it back. We're going to take a shoulder stretch. So we'll start with the right arm. You keep it at this nice 90-degree angle, but slide it off the mat. Right cheek is down. And then you press into your left hand. The goal is to only lift as much as you need for the right shoulder to be in a stretch. So some of us go to hip stack or left leg floating behind us. And some people are not quite that far. It's only as much as you need to stretch the shoulder. One more breath for this half. Good. Lower belly down. Switch. Left arm slides out. Left cheek is down. And you're going as much as you need to help stretch the left shoulder. Start to return down. Press back. Take a moment with a child pose. That feels nice after the back bend. Okay, come up onto hands and knees. We're stepping the right foot in between our hands. You're trying to get it far enough forward that if you start to sink your weight forward, the knee doesn't go past the toes. So once you're there, you have to blanket under knee is an option if you need it, that support. But once you're there, the goal is to try to feel a stretch on the front of the left hip. So if you can feel that with hand down, that's fine. I like to take hands up to thigh, but I have to keep sinking my hips forward. Let's add a slight aspect for the spine. So bringing arms above head, grab onto elbows, and then try to pull the elbows backwards an inch. That opens the chest just a little bit. And then tilt the elbows a little bit to the left. And a little bit to the right. Good. Release, drop the hands to the floor. Shifting the hips over the back knee, straighten the front leg, even scooting it forward if you need to. It's a nice half split. So let the heart just relax, melting down to the thigh. It's like an icicle melting. When the icicle is hard and you try to bend it, all it can do is just snap. So instead, we've kind of warmed it up, let the icicle turn into water, and then the water is flexible. It'll do whatever you want it to do. That's what we're trying to help our body become a little bit more through that transition from solid to liquid. And then helping out our toes, kind of wake up that from the winter. 3 times, try to point the toes just as much as they can. And then try to flex back as much as they can. Good. Feel all those muscles connected to it. 2. And back. 1. And back. Good. And we're going to take a pigeon pose. So continue to heel toe this right foot to the left edge of the mat. Eventually you'll get to a spot where you can drop that right knee down, kind of swiveling the leg down. And so once you're there, the back knee scoots backwards. Good. Yep, you got it. Keep the sacrum level. And if you'd like to stay up in the back bend, that's great. If you'd like to drop down, that's great. Sometimes I'll do a little bonus where I try to reach for my back toes for a moment to add that quad stretch in. So just anything that feels helpful, add those little aspects, helping the body out. Two more relaxed breaths. And after that second breath, we're coming to either a downward facing dog or a kneeling place. And either way, we're wiggling our hips out. So from kneeling, I might do huge hip circles, just loosening up any tension that might be there. If I'm in down dog, I'll kind of just let my legs wiggle or my hips wiggle. Good. If you feel ready, and no rush, but when you feel ready to switch sides, eventually you'll get that left foot in front of you on the floor. Good. So this is the psoas stretch. So we're sinking hips forward until we feel the front of the right hip. Hands are welcome to stay on floor for a bit, or we can start working up to thigh, but make sure hips aren't backing up at all by rising. Good. So arms up above us, grab onto elbows. Pull the elbows back an inch. This opens up the heart just a little bit. And tilt the elbows to the right. And tilt to the left. Good. Free out the arms. Straighten the leg in front of you. Drop down to the fingertips. So half split. The leg is as straight as it'll go. It's okay if it's not super all the way. We're all with our body wherever we're at. We have to meet it where we're at before we can start to transition. It's like the winter transitioning to summer. If there's no spring, it'd be just too much for the body, too much for the world. So continue to melt heart down, relax. Work through those toes 3 times, point them as much as you can, and slowly pull back. 2, and 1. Beautiful. Let's start to heel toe the foot to the right top edge of the mat until the knee can swivel down. That's pigeon. The back leg scoots back as far as it can. You're welcome to stay up with the back bend or lower to elbow, sleeping pigeon. Yep, grabbing toes. I love that variation too. About 3 more breaths. After that third breath, let's take another one of those transition poses. It could be the down dog, it could be the kneeling one. Give those hips another chance to loosen up any tension that you felt. starting our transition toward the Shavasana, that restful pose, just like how we started class. So you can continue to be here a bit longer. You can take any other stretches that you know that your body is craving. So seated stretches, stretches on your back, whatever feels good. And eventually when you're satisfied, your body's happy and ready to relax, at that point, you'll find yourself in that peaceful place like how we started, just laying on your back, open position of surrendering. No sense of rush. You can take as long as you need for the stretches. Eventually, when you're in that restful state, just laying on the back, allow yourself to return back to breath. Huge breath flow in and out. And return again to that idea of the spring, this transition from winter to summer, the slow, gradual transition toward greater movement of animals, greater growth and life plans. And this can be as physical on that plant and animal plane as you'd like, or it can be as deep inward as you'd like. Kind of asking ourselves perhaps what growth, what life, what movement wishes to urge and flow out of me at this point in my life. Just letting that energy of the spring carry with us with every inhale and exhale we take, imagining the body just slowly transitioning, slowly warming. We'll be here for a few minutes, so just keep the breath. Begin to deepen the inhales, the exhales. Start to introduce little movements back to the body, fingers, toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching out in ways that feel good for the body. Perhaps a fetal position if you'd like to head there for a couple of breaths. Just enjoying the body returning back to presence. Perhaps 2 or 3 more good relaxing breath cycles until you feel ready to rise to a comfortable seated place sooner or later. As we start to arise, we'll join our hands together in front of heart. We'll take just a moment to reconnect back to that intention of this spring energy. And so as we head forward, we ask ourselves, in what ways is more movement wanting to happen in my life? In what ways is life or growth or transition even wanting to take place? And with our energy to support that journey, that transformation, with that to help lead us on, let's wrap up the time that we shared together with a sound of Om. Deep inhale now. Om. May we be filled with light and happiness and peace. Namaste.